Hello, everybody. Welcome on into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. It's Trade Talks, and I'm here with the whole crew, Ryan, Brian, myself, and our fearless leader, Nate. Today, we're going to get into a mock draft, fantasy draft, rest of season. This is exciting, guys. Here we go.
All right. Trade talks, but mock draft. How's it going, everyone?
Mock talks. Pretty good.
Not bad. Glad to crash the party for a mock draft in February. Feels appropriate.
Yeah, happy to have you here. So, yeah, if you haven't heard, we're throwing every NHL player back into free agency, and we are redrafting some teams for the rest of the season. The draft will be starting in about 13 minutes, but I will just go through the rules here. It's APL settings, 20 total rounds with 3 centers, 3 left wings, 3 right wings, 4D, 1 utility spot, 2 of those goalies that will be really interesting to see the 0G landscape at this point in the season. And then, some extra bench spots there to get to 20 skaters. Evan, how you feeling? You got number 5 pick. Brian, you got number 9 pick. I'm sitting at 12th pick. And Nate, you got number 1 overall. So who's liking their spot the best here for this redraft?
I mean, I'm not mad.
I think a little envious of Nate in the 1 spot, but knowing what we know now,
Nate, who you taking?
Yeah.
Who am I taking? I don't know. Is there more intrigue if I don't reveal it until we start? I don't know.
Kind of. I'm like, I think there's to be honest, if it were me, I was going to go McDavid. I was going to do the old switcheroo, even with the playoff schedule. And I was going to go with McJesus this time around. I think he's just really turned it on this second half. He's been unbelievable. So I think you have to consider it at this point.
Yeah, I think you do. I will withhold my position until the last second.
Yeah. I guess there's not much newsies other than Josh Morrissey got hurt. Don't really know the details there. And we have some exciting Olympic hockey. Brian, you catch any of the games so far?
Yeah, actually, fortunately, I work from home, so I was watching a little bit of the men's Olympic hockey while I was working on the couch. Saw Canada have a great showing, and Binner with the shutout as we all expected before the Olympics. So really happy to see that. But yeah, that Celebrini kid is pretty good. Looks pretty good on that McDavid line. I will say that.
How are you feeling about the Americans there, Evan?
I feel good. In the comments here, we got my buddy Don't Tase Me, 4 of us, yes, today. As I was kind of saying off air, he was part of the discussion of our American hockey discussion. I think they look good. To your point earlier, Nate, I think that they look cohesive. Jack Hughes all of a sudden is back uninjured, making incredible passes, skating really well. Brock Nelson, age defied. I mean, the guy's a monster. He would have had a hat trick had it not been called back on one of his goals. So I think he's really providing a depth role there. I was kind of saying
I was just going to say, who needs DeBrincat, Cole Caulfield, Jason Robertson? You got Brock Nelson.
That's true. That's true. That was kind of one of my comments was I still think, again, as a couch GM for Team USA, I would have for sure at a minimum put Jason Robertson on this team. I don't know how you don't. But, I think there's a lot of focus on bringing the physicality with the Tkachuk brothers and then, some short-handed guys like JT Miller, Vincent Trocheck, those kind of guys. But it's tough with some of the seasons that these other guys have had to leave them off. And I look at the skill and the speed of Canada and I kind of get scared that we can't really defend it. And we just kind of have to match it by firing as many pucks at Jordan Bennington as possible so that he just reverts to in-season St. Louis form. But we'll see.
Yeah, but the more pucks you shoot at Binner, the more he becomes a playoff Binner, and we're okay with that. Like, after all, he did steal us that overtime win in the Four Nations. But one thing I will say, watching the Americans play, that defense is so legit. Like, that worries me as a Canadian, looking at the Americans defense. And that's not entirely because half of their defensive core makes up my fantasy lineup, and I fully believe in that. But definitely it's because they are just full of studs, top to bottom.
Yeah, they also have an Olympic veteran in Jake Sanderson, the only returning Olympian from Beijing.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he's really, like you said, they're solid all around. It's going to be a crazy games coming up. I'm curious to see if some of these other like kind of teams are going to put in some upsets, I don't know, like not even Sweden, like you were kind of talking about in your episode, Nate, a few days ago. Like, is Denmark, Finland, any of them? Finland did not look great. I saw Twitter exploding with can Aho even return, after that performance? Like, I don't know. I think they're going to get going a bit too. What do you guys think? Any upsets upcoming?
I mean, Slovakia looked real good. But so, yeah, I think Slavkovsky, he's just like catapulted himself into like a superstar there. So that's pretty cool. The Finland thing, like, they played Mikko Rantanen 15 minutes, and that's not good. Someone fantasy hockey related needs to be like, hey guys, you got to play your stars, get them out there.
Someone's got to tell them that this guy can get under 90 points, but not over.
We'll see.
Listen, you gotta play your stars. Like, literally have to play your Dallas Stars because they're on your team. You got Rupins, you got Rantanen, you got Heiskanen, and that makes up half of the power play. Like, you got to get Rantanen some more ice time for sure.
Yep. All right, we got some more comments here. JJ Pissed, welcome on in. Do you guys think maybe Jack Hughes was taking it easy the past few weeks to ensure he wouldn't be injured for the Olympics? I don't know. I don't think Jack Hughes takes it easy. I think he doesn't really care about what's going to happen to his body, but that's my biased take. You're saying that JJ Pissed. He seemed pretty flustered when the Canucks held Quinn Hughes back from the Four Nations. Yeah, I don't know. You guys got any hot takes on Jack Hughes or insider info?
I mean, I got hot takes. I don't know if they're not accurate though, so I might keep those to myself.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that any NHL player, self-respecting NHL player, was sandbagging for the Olympics, especially when their team was out of a playoff spot. But yeah, I think Jack Hughes, it could be like a springboard event for him, right? Like, it could be a situation where he just gets to play a little bit loose. He doesn't have the weight of the team on his shoulders. I honestly didn't check the lines that they ran today, but I know, like, in practice, the one day he was on like what looked like a fourth line. And so, yeah, he's just going to be able to kind of play free. And I think that's probably going to help him out a little bit and maybe give him a little bit of a springboard into the back half of the year. I mean, I know that the Devils hope that it does that for him. Him and Bratt together have not been ideal, I would say, over the last little bit. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because, the Devils were for a while a lot of people's trade targets, including ours. And now, like, I've said it like on multiple podcasts back to back, like, I'm just completely out on the Devils. Like, I don't have any confidence that they're going to like magically turn it around after the Olympics, like for the last, 30 some games. Like, I don't know that like we see the Jack Hughes that we thought we knew, like, could be possible this year, including Jesper Bratt too. Even I think both of them are a good example. What do you guys think? I'll start with you, Ryan. Do you think there's any still buy low windows that you'd take part in for the right value?
On the Devils specifically, honestly, any team that like might be out of it, I think that's piquing my interest for this mock draft and the rest of the season. I think once a team, accepts they're out of it, you're not going to see the players like give up. I think you might see an opposite effect where players really turn things up to be like, well, But here's what I got. Let me show you what I got, and I think you're going to see a lot of surprises down the stretch of like point per game players, especially on teams who have really done nothing. And maybe it's the Devils, maybe it's the Rangers, and those are players that I think I'm going to be particularly interested in getting at value in this mock draft if you guys don't snag them up first.
Interesting stuff. Brian, how about you? Are you targeting? Would you still target either Jack Hughes, Bratt, Heischer, one of those Devils in a trade still as we get closer to the trade deadline?
Well,
do you have any faith in them?
If the price is right, like if the price is right, I'm not going to say no. But yeah, I think that Ryan actually has a really good point, because you actually see that in not only just hockey, but pretty much every major sport. If like a team is down and out, they typically have less pressure on them. They probably want to pad their stats a little bit as best they can to get themselves back into relevance to some degree, and you'll see that. So I think there is a good value. I know the Devils have a pretty decent playoff schedule. Like last time I checked, I think. I should probably take a look at that before we do the draft here. But I would definitely still consider any top end talent, because there's always a chance that they could click. Simple as that.
Yeah, and I will. I'll bring that up just so everyone knows. Like in this format, in the playoffs, which will be March 16 to April 5th in the APL. Basically, the Rangers, Bruins, and Pittsburgh Penguins play 12 games. The Blues, Leafs, Mammoth, Wild, Edmonton Oilers, and the Kraken all play 9 games. And I also pulled up just the rest of the season until April 5th. And the Penguins are leading the way with 22 games remaining. And then there's like 10 teams with 19 games remaining. I won't list them all. But we are going just till April 5th. We're not going to the end of the season. So keep that in mind for this mock draft.
I like that.
And the Devils, they have 11 games in the playoffs with 5 off nights. It's pretty good. It's not bad.
That's all right.
It's not bad. Not bad. Yeah, I can't get behind it. I at least let me say this. I think at the value that I think most people would require, I think that trying to trade away guys for specifically like a Jesper Bratt, like, if you got guys that are performing now and Bratt's going to get you like 1 more game played and 2 more off nights or something like that, just to hope that, maybe he turns it on. That's kind of where I'm like, I'm not trading for Bratt at 90-point rest of season value. I think a lot of people are still kind of, wanting that kind of value in trades. Yeah,
I'd be interested to see where he goes in this draft. Nate, I got a question for you. In the APL, we saw like Connor Hellebuck, I think taken in like the 5th round in a lot of leagues, if I'm not mistaken. Where do you think the top goalie will go in this draft? And do you think it'll be a surprise and not be like Hellebuck or Vasi?
Well, I don't know if you could take Hellebuck there with the kind of season that he's had, which, again, it's part of the thesis, right? Any goalie at any time could just not have a great year, and they depend so much on the teams in front of them. If you just go by raw fantasy points, Hellebuck is like, what is this, like 20th in APL points this year, behind Scott Wedgwood and John Gibson and Spencer Knight and Jet Greaves, all guys we definitely thought would be there at the beginning of the season, I'm sure. I wouldn't take Hellebuck anywhere near the it would have to be double-digit rounds before I'd be thinking about Hellebuck, to be quite honest. The other part of that, too, like, you got to think about it with all these teams. We saw it with Florida last year when they were in a good spot. They started shutting guys down early through the playoffs. Like, usually that's why we don't play that last week of the playoffs of the NHL regular season for our playoffs, is to avoid that. But it happened like even before that, and it did start to leak into some of our fantasy stuff, which is pretty unusual. But I think you got to also factor a bit of that in. Like, if Tampa Bay continues on a terrific pace here for most of the rest of the season, do they start to rest Vasi right when you need them in your fantasy finals? Like, that's a real possibility.
So as Nate's on the board here, he's going to take Connor Hellebuck first overall in a wild stretch as he leads us down the double digit. And he still goes with Nathan McKinnon. I'm interested to hear this. Is it for the playoff schedule or just individually you believe he's going to outpace McDavid, Nate?
Yeah, I think he still will. It's a bit format dependent, right? Like we have our format here. The shots mean a lot. I think he's still most likely to put that up. I think McKinnon and the Avs in general did coast slightly into the Olympic break here just because they could. They have such a tremendous lead that they built up, and I mean his coasting into the Olympic break was 5 points in 5 games, so it's not like he exactly took the night off, but definitely think that he'll tune it back up again for the back end of the year as they look to just solidify their home ice advantage throughout the playoffs. Yeah, I'm looking forward to full bore Nathan McKinnon, and I think they'll get things straightened out again. I think it was a little bit of a blip, and we should be closer to the first 2 months Nathan McKinnon than the last 2 weeks Nathan McKinnon.
Fair point. So we got McKinnon number 1, McDavid number 2, Kucherov number 3. No surprise to me there, the way Kucherov has turned things on. Ryan, I'll throw it to you. What do you think about Kucherov at the 3 spot?
Yeah, it's interesting. I might go. I would totally take Kucherov there. Like it's between him and Makar for me. Even though Makar's like taken a step off the gas, he's no doubt the top defender. That like Werenski is not going to finish as a top defender. Quinn Hughes is not going to finish as a top defender in this format. It's Makar for me. Are you considering here at 5 Makar? Are you gonna surprise us here with someone?
You know, you kind of talked me into it. It's unfortunate because Makar has done poor by his standards recently. I was heavily considering. I'll just, well, you know what? I won't say it because Brian's got his coming up. But I was heavily considering 2 other individuals. I know that Brian and Ryan, you two know for sure who I was looking at least one of them. And we'll get to that as things go on.
Yeah. And just in terms of the like McKinnon versus McDavid point, honestly, like the value could be exactly the same. They could both go crazy, and just that playoff schedule, 2 extra games from McKinnon could be such a difference maker. So I back keeping McKinnon first there.
Yeah, I don't hate it. And this guy went off the board. Both of my guys that I was considering go off the board. Pasta for the Boston schedule, and you guys know how I feel about Celebrini.
Yeah, that's funny. I was actually thinking of it. Would it be a crazy take just to pick Celebrini now? But then, like, because the playoff schedule, but Celebrini's been money this year. You know, like he is that good. He might be better when he comes back from the Olympics after scoring the first goal for Canada, and he realizes, "Hey, I'm the best player on this team." Not joke.
Yeah.
Hot take. I think, like, from watching games this year, Celebrini is the second single best player on the planet. I think that when he is on the ice, he drives play and creates the most scoring chances for his team, like other than McDavid. I think that he is like the number 2. I really like McKinnon, but I think Celebrini does it better offensively. My mind.
Interesting. Well, yeah, he went 6th here in this draft. I think that might be his ADP next season. That'll be wild. Yeah. And yeah, just to recap here, after Kucherov went 3rd, Draisaitl did go 4th, and then Evan took Cale Makar, and then Macklin at 6, Pasta at 7, Kaprizov at 8. So he's still pretty much in the similar spot. And Brian, who'd you take at 9 there?
Yeah, I went with Jack Eichel, which the beginning of the season I think would be a hotter take, but I just like Jack Eichel where he is in the situation in Vegas, what he's done so far. He's been relatively healthy. I know he had been hurt a little bit, but I like Jack Eichel, and I'm happy to take him at the 9 spot here. And then quick recap after I went Jack Eichel, went Matthews right after at 10.
Wow.
And then Connor Bedard, and then Ryan is up here. Evan, what do you think of my Jack Eichel pick?
I like the Eichel pick after Kaprizov. Honestly, he's done really well. They got Marner now. If Mark Stone's there, they're both on like 120 point pace. So it's not terrible. I'm wondering where he's going to go actually, but I think the next part was interesting with Matthews. I was wondering how far he was going to fall. Nate? I'll throw it to you quick. Do you think that Matthews fell like far enough, or should he have gone further? Would you have taken others ahead of him?
It's tough for me with Matthews, honestly, right now. I think that it's probably about right, but where exactly to place him in this range, I think, is pretty up for debate. The ceiling is like competes with Kucherov, McDavid, McKinnon for most fantasy points over the rest of the season, and we've even seen that ceiling like in the early part of January, like for whatever that stretch was, 10 games or whatever, where he had like 10 goals. And you see that ceiling and you want that ceiling because if that ceiling hits during your fantasy playoffs, he might just win you the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So for that reason alone, you can justify him right there just because he has that ceiling that probably only 3 or 4 other players in the league can match. But you also have, Toronto rumored to be a seller here at the deadline. It's not looking like good vibes. If he gets any kind of nick, do they just shut him down and maybe even tank even further? There's a lot at play there still, and that should give you some pause in a format like this.
I just want to comment on what Ryan did here at the 12 and the second round. It's criminal. He should be locked in jail. He took Zach Werenski and Quinn Hughes to stack up his defense. Can you just talk to us, Ryan, about what you did there?
Yeah, so Austin Matthews went 10th, and then Connor Bedard went 11th. So look at that. Celebrini and Bedard both in the first round. And then that left me the current top defenseman in fantasy hockey at the moment, Zach Werenski. So I couldn't resist that. And then I had probably one of the most skilled offensive defensemen alongside Cale Makar and Zach Werenski there too, on a wagon of Minnesota playing with Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, who he just went crazy in the Sweden game. He didn't get any points, but he had like 8 shots on goal, which is pretty cool to watch. Just Minnesota with Boldy, Cap, Ek, Quinn Hughes there. Their wagon, and I think Quinn Hughes is due for some positive regression on his point pace as well as his goal pace. He's only shooting 3.5%, which was up at 8% the previous 2 seasons. He's currently on a 90-point pace. He's been on like that 90-point pace in the past, but I do think he can push for 100-point pace rest of the season on this Minnesota team, and I want a part of that. So I'm locked in on my D here, got some elite D, and I just wasn't in love with any of the forwards that were there, including he's still there. There he goes. Mikko Rantanen, who fell to the late second round. I couldn't take him at 12 or 13.
Little recap after you took Quinn Hughes at the 2-1, then it goes Lane Hudson at the 2-2. That's kind of crazy. I like that team. Bedard, Hudson, then it goes Bouchard at the 2-3. Brian, you took Dahlin. Tell me how much you love this guy.
Well, Dahlin's a top 5 fantasy defenseman, isn't he?
He was the 6th defenseman off the board here. Just to point that out.
That's true. So he didn't even crack the top 5. Oh, that's too funny. So. If you've been listening to recent conversations with the Trade Talks guys, it's been a heavy topic of debate with Rasmus Dahlin. But I just think the 6th best fantasy defenseman, I feel a little better about that. I wanted to get a defenseman that's a stud. And I think Dahlin has really turned it on, especially as the Buffalo team as a whole has been really good of late. So I just want a piece of that because he's driving some offense along with Tage Thompson there.
Yeah. I love that.
I got to give your guy some flowers. Got to give him.
And then so after Dahlin at the 2-4, we get Brady Tkachuk at the 2-5. He's kind of fallen in drafts here, but gets going there. My pick that I wanted at the 2-8 goes at the 2-6, Jason Robertson. Then we go Matt Boldy at the 2-7. I took Tage Thompson at the 2-8. I think he's just going to keep doing what he's been doing. Really like his dual eligibility with the right wing there. I'll take it. And then we go Mikko Rantanen at the 2-9. It's interesting to me. J-Rob's taken over Mikko Rantanen as well. I think maybe Nate, I think you're on your pick, but you and Blake had kind of said that, at the beginning of the year that Jason Robertson was going to either outpace or be kind of equivalent to Mikko Rantanen, and you would save like a round or 2 of draft spots for him. And then Mr. Mumps takes Sidney Crosby. Really great pick. I kind of was hoping he'd come back to me in the third with that Pittsburgh schedule. Really good stuff. Tim Stutzla goes at the 211. And Nate, season be damned. He goes with Jack Hughes here. Nathan McKinnon and Jack Hughes stack. I kind of like that. We'll let him finish up his second pick here. Brian, tell Nate how he screwed up.
You throw me on the spot. I was looking at, I'm trying to look at my my next pick here. I was trying to decide, hey, is this a snake? Like, is this going to revert back to the third round? Yeah, so it does. But yeah, let me take a look. You picked Jack Hughes. Yeah, shame on you in the second round. I don't know.
At the end of the second.
I mean, it's crazy because you would have been looking at Jack Hughes at the end of the first or the early second. At the beginning of the season. So to see him even fall that far, and we know the talent that he does have is pretty crazy. But yeah, Shafe. Oh wow!
After I really these picks by Adam949, I kind of like them. They're spicy.
It's a dynasty league for him. Darren Hudson and Matt Schaefer. And just, we forgot to mention that there's a third round reversal in the APL here. So yeah, sorry to tease you there, Nate, but you only had one pick there in the end of the second round, and then you got to wait for the end of the third. But yeah, after Nate went Jack Hughes, I went Marty Necas as the first pick in the third round, and then Matt Schaefer went, and then Kyle Connor goes 3-3. And Brian is on the clock.
We gotta let Nate defend himself here against Jack Hughes. You gotta believe Nate. Nate's putting his stake in the ground here.
Yeah, I was thinking about a couple of players there. Necas was one just for the McKinnon stack. Like if you're thinking about this as rest of season, right, it would be a really short form tournament kind of situation. Like you got to win now. And so you're betting on McKinnon already, bet on Necas too. Those guys are probably going to trend together and score together a lot. So that was a consideration for sure. But in the end, I just couldn't pass up Jack Hughes because of the nuclear potential there. If you're looking at guys who could outright win you your fantasy championships, I think McKinnon is one. I think Hughes is another. And so I couldn't pass that up at the 212 there, even though if I had the 3-1 there, if it was a normal stake draft and it wasn't our third round reversal the way we do it in the APL, then I would have had the best of both worlds. I could have taken Necas and taken Hughes there. There were a couple defensemen that I thought about there as well, and neither of them have come off yet. So that's still up for debate.
Okay, I feel like I just added one to my queue, and it's definitely not going to come back around to me.
Yeah, well, I did the same thing, and now I'm like debating taking the next pick. Nice job, Nate. He's trying to incept me here, which is good. It's I like that. It's again talent, and my guy gets taken. That's great. Somebody else take over here. This is ridiculous.
Brian, you stacked 2D in the first 3 rounds there too. Tell us about Jacob Chychrun.
Yeah, Jacob Chychrun is money, boys. He can't stop scoring. I like Jacob Chychrun. He shoots the puck a lot. He shoots the puck in the net a lot, which I think is really valuable, of course. And it does seem like historically, when we do drafts in like APL style drafts, the defense go really quickly. And where Chychrun is ranked this year, he is actually, I think he might actually be ranked better than Dahlin. Is he top 5, top 6? Evan, you want to fact check that? No, but Chychrun has been great. He was good last year. He's great this year, and I think that's going to continue the rest of the year. They know what they have in Jacob Chychrun. He's in a good situation for himself to score some points, and I'm more than happy to have him on my blue line.
Absolutely. I got sniped 2 spots. I wanted J-Rob, and then I want my boy Wyatt Johnston, and nobody will let me have my Dallas guys. Ryan, you want to talk about how you took Marty Necas third when I wouldn't trade him to you in the Experts League?
Yeah, I mean, in before the season, I wish I took Martin Necas instead of Braden Point, but I was like, well, how can I pass up Braden Point here? I still had Marty Necas projected for 87 points, but Point I had projected for 40 goals. I just had to do it, and it was the worst fantasy decision I've ever made in my fantasy hockey career.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough situation. And as he's on the board right now, stole Gensel from me. He wanted to go with the Kucherov Gensel stack. Tampa's got a pretty decent playoff schedule. Any of those top 5 guys were really valuable, I think. Kucherov, Hagel. I'm curious to see where some of these other defensemen go as we're talking about the top 5. Nate's coming up on his pick. We'll see if he gets into a defenseman here. You might have to get a left wing replacement though once Jack Hughes retires after the Olympics. Nate.
All right. Well, we got one of them off the board at least.
Oh boy, I was waiting for it.
Darren
I honestly think if you're drafting rest of season, Darren Radish should probably go earlier than he's gone here at the 311.
Agree.
But I'm going to take Roman Josi for one. If you look at what Yossi's done over the last, I would say even 30 days, he's produced a lot more like one of the top 5 defenders in the league again. So just hoping that continues the rest of the season. You may not want to bet on that, but for what it's worth, that's where he's at. Honestly, this is really tough where I'm at right here. There's a few options that all make a lot of sense for the team. I am terrified of most of these picks, but they have a lot of ceiling. I think I'm going to go with the safe one. I'm going to go with Sam Reinhart here. He hasn't had like the most insane season. He's not like the top guy in terms of fantasy points per game that was left on the board here. But yeah, this is a guy who you know you're going to get great performances from. And I've already kind of taken the swings here with Hughes and Josi, it feels like. So I'll settle for Reinhart and feel pretty good about it.
I like that.
Yeah, it's like at the fourth round, Sam Reinhart, that's great. And he's doing like what we really expected him to do so far. Like he hasn't gone off, and I think there is that possibility as Florida pushes for the playoffs, which they have to do now. They can't really rest guys. Like maybe he turns it up another notch. So I like that pick. And then Willie Nylander, he goes for 2. That was another guy I was eyeing as well. He was definitely not going to make it to round 5. He's had some weird injuries lingering all season, but he played for Sweden's first game, and he looked like an absolute superstar for Sweden, Sweden's best player for sure. And hopefully he doesn't re-aggravate any injury at the Olympics and comes back to the Leafs after the Olympics are done and goes off. We'll see. But he goes at the 4-2, and then Sanderson goes 4-3, and Evan's coming up on his pick. Brian, you have 2D. Are you looking at positions at this point in the draft? We're back in. No, you're ignoring positions. You're just taking best player available.
Yeah, I'm looking at best players available rest of season. But now I'm going to start looking at positions. Like typically what I like to do is come out of the first 5 rounds with at least 2D. But in this draft style, like I typically have to grab my defenseman a little sooner, or I'm going to get stuck with, I don't know, Thomas Harley as my first defenseman or something, which isn't ideal. So I don't mind reaching a little bit on D because I think there's a lot more options of forwards the rest of the season. Because I know someone's going to forget someone. Yeah. All right.
I had to get my piece of Dallas there. I think he's proven that he's going to stay there, and he's had quite the season so far. I like Dallas's playoff schedule. Brian, you're going to have to think about something here. Well, you got 2D. You got Dahlin and Chychrun this time. Yeah.
Evan, why would you go with Heiskin if your guy Luke Hughes is still available?
That's a good question. That is a very good question. Luke Hughes, like Ryan said, if this was a dynasty format, then it'd be exciting stuff, but not to be. Panarin goes in the 4th round. I actually thought he was going to fall a little bit further, as well as Philip Forsberg here at the 4-7. Both of these guys, I think, like with their playoff schedules and specifically Panarin being traded to the Kings, we kind of talked about it last episode, Ryan and I. Nate, what's your take on Panarin rest of the season with his kind of expected fantasy value with the Kings?
Yeah, I'm not happy about it. I have Panarin in a few spots, and I think it was like the first almost a month of the season where he was at like half a point per game basically. And then ever since that point, he's been like well over 100-point pace. He's been terrific in the midst of all the shenanigans that the Rangers seemingly produce year after year. He's been terrific. And now he goes to LA, and we get to experience the Jim Hiller effect, very similar to the Greg Cronin hellscape that we experienced last year. Ryan, your Kevin Fiala love, I'm sure, is being mitigated through the lens of a Jim Hiller hellscape there in Los Angeles currently. And I agree on Fiala's talent, and I think I said that when we talked about him together. It's just I really do think that Jim Hiller's Los Angeles Kings is where offense goes to die. And I don't know that Panarin, as good as he is going to be exempt from that. Like, even if he's just like ignoring what the coach says and freewheeling in the offensive zone, I don't know if any of the other guys will be there with him. And so it could work. Like, there is a scenario where it works, but the scenario he was in was arguably the best possible for fantasy, especially with the playoff schedule.
I would agree with that. I think I'm a Panarin owner in every single league that I've participated in this year, Nate. And so you got to just kind of calm yourself down and say there were worse scenarios in my mind. He could have been a member of the Seattle Kraken. He could have been a member of the New York Islanders. I think I still like the Kings better than that. And he could have been a Carolina Hurricane on the fourth line with Barry Kotkaniemi and Eric Robinson. So. And speaking of that, Ryan snipes me as he kind of did the reverse here. I wouldn't trade him Martin Nikas in the Experts League, and he wouldn't trade me Jarvis in the Experts League. So he's got them both now.
Yeah, this is great. I feel like there's a lot of hostility being taken out on this.
A full season's worth of frustration just being aired right here.
Seriously.
Yeah. It's like Evan and I were like rivals in the off-season mock drafts. We just kept sniping each other, and then all of a sudden we're doing trade talks all season. We're all nice and lovey-dovey, and now we're back.
We're back. And I was wondering when Cutter Gauthier was going to go. That's a great pick, Ryan. And then, yeah, that was a really good pick. And then Braden Point, I was kind of keeping in my queue, just hoping that he fell to kind of like more the 7 range for me. That was a good pick by Free Minds at the 5-3. Demidov at the 4-11. This guy really, Adam 949 is going for the Dynasty League. Leading rookies in points, though, so you can't hate there. JT Miller goes at the 4-8 with the playoff schedule. Ryan, are you a believer that JT Miller is going to do stuff with that playoff schedule?
I actually am a believer, but that's way earlier than I thought JT Miller was going to be taken. I was expecting like round 7 or 8. And I think taking him earlier, you're just like counting on point per game JT Miller, even in the 4th round. But again, the Rangers playoff schedule, especially that semifinals week, is going to be really valuable. And I am a believer, especially after like the Four Nations, the Olympics. You know, he's on Team USA in this checking role, and then he's going to go back to the Rangers. The Rangers have nothing to play for, but I think that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see any dips in production. I think it can see some increases for the top guys on the Rangers.
There we go.
And then I'll recap right after JT Miller went to Brinkett, and then Clayton Keller went 4-10. I was really hoping to get Keller instead of Jarvis, but I settled for Seth Jarvis, the safer. I don't know if it's a safer floor. It's just a lower ceiling than Clayton Keller. I think Clayton Keller at 410 is great, and such a high ceiling there on Utah. If they can turn all their expected goals into real goals, which they haven't really been able to do all season and last season, but maybe it all comes together at the end of the season here. And then, Demidov goes to Team Dynasty, and then I take Jarvis and Cutter Gauthier. I hope I stole Gauthier from Team Dynasty, because that would have been a good Dynasty pick. But he does take Dylan Genther there at the 5-2, and then Point goes. And then, Brian, tell us who you took at 5-4.
Yeah, I went with Lucas Raymond. So now I got the Detroit stack, but I'll do my best to stop there and not do what I did in the offseason and pick up 4 Winnipeg Jets players, by the way, which I'm still reminded of to this day. But yeah, I'm going to stop at 2 Detroit players. I like DeBrincat. I like Lucas Raymond. Both of the offense that they can do, or they have done already this season. I think I'm getting Raymond at value here in the 5th round. So rest of the season they have a decent, not a great, playoff schedule, but not horrible either. So I'm okay with the Detroit stack there as they're kind of gunning for first in their division. Right after me, it went Slavkovsky at the 5-5, Tom Wilson at 5-6, Dylan Larkin, Evan. It looks like you, or no, it wasn't you. Dylan Larkin at the 5-2, then Zibby at the 5-8, and that was in my queue. So nice snag there. And then Adam Fox and Scheifele. Evan, talk to us about Zibby.
Well, I got sniped yet again with Larkin. I got sniped 3 times in this draft. People know what they're doing here. I had to go Zibby. I mean, he's just sitting there. I know he's probably due for some regression without Panarin, but he's going to be leaned on heavily moving forward. And then with that playoff schedule, you can't beat it. So I was looking at him or Fox, actually. I was thinking about Fox. But it's more important to get your forward stacks for these off nights for the Rangers. Scheifele goes at the 5-10, good pick. Sider at the 5-11, another great pick. And then Nate snags 2 right out of my queue as well with Mark Stone and Zach Hyman. Nate, is Mark Stone going to remain healthy rest of season here and just keep piling up the points?
I mean, flip a coin, but we're at the 5-12 here, and the guy's producing, what is he, the 7th most fantasy points per game when he's playing on the season so far this year, and to get him at the 5-12 I think is kind of crazy. I considered him at the 4-1 with Reinhardt, so I mean, if he gives me half the games, I just hope that they're in the playoffs, and hope my team is good enough to get me there. So pretty happy about that. Pretty happy about Hyman. He's looked terrific with McDavid going again. I think Hyman's in line for a good finish to the season.
I was going to go Hyman with my next pick, so great job.
Thank you.
Mark Stone, yeah. What an idea. I mean, where do you guys think he goes next year in drafts? Like, do people mitigate this risk and just say when he's healthy with Jack Hughes, he's going to be like a 100-point player and we're willing to accept it? Like, does he go in do people take him in the 3rd round, 2nd, 3rd round?
No, I don't think.
Does anyone?
No, I don't think anyone does. I don't think you can ever discount the injuries that are associated with Mark Stone. There's been just too long of a narrative with the injuries. But yeah, whoever gets him is always happy because they usually get him pretty late. So I'd imagine I could see him going in the mid rounds, no problem. But I wouldn't see him in the top 3 rounds.
Yeah, I don't aside from the injury, Mark Stone is shooting, 24%. He's shooting 21% at even strength. The on ice shooting percentage at even strength is at 15.4%. That is far higher than just the normal trend in the NHL of higher. Vegas is crushing it, but they're not going to crush it all season into next season as well, where Mark Stone is worth a 3rd round pick. So I'm not touching him even in the 5th round next year. I'm not touching Mark Stone.
Are we just going to gloss over the fact that Evan said that Mark Stone is going to play with Jack Hughes next year? And I'm wondering is Stone going to New Jersey or is Hughes coming to Vegas? Because if Hughes goes to Vegas and they keep Eichel, then I think we riot.
I think that works, Yeah, I'm getting my Jacks confused here. With the way Jack Hughes is playing in the Olympics, I think he's Jack Eichel. Who knows?
They were just Mark Stone, Jack Hughes. They're just both guys who won't play in your fantasy playoffs. That's it.
Yeah, somebody already said
it's a short season here.
What do we got for picks here? There he goes, my guy. Oh no, I wanted to get him at a later date. So we got Morgan Geeky, the unreal, unheralded, at the 6-7, try eligible, great fantasy hockey playoff schedule. Is he going to get 50 goals this year? Question mark.
I mean, I'm not going to bet against it at this point.
I may or may not have a bet down that he gets 55 goals, and I may or may not have thought about doubling down on it multiple times.
Wow.
I will bet against it. I'll take the under.
My question is, what is his shooting percentage going to be at the end of the year? And when are people going to say that it's unsustainable when he's done it for like 2-3 seasons?
I mean, if anyone shoots 27% for 2 or 3 seasons, then we'll have a new.
Then he's the best goal scorer of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. he is the new Ovechkin.
When do we call Morgan Geekie the best shooter on the planet? Is the question I have. Oh. Jesper Bratt goes at the 6'10". It's crazy, how far he fell. Like he was going in, I would say most people's third, fourth rounds this year. And then Adam continues his dynasty pick with Michkov, who I'm pretty sure was going to go undrafted in this. But I like the confidence moving forward. Maybe he has an inside track that now that Tocchet's aired it out so many times with the media that he's finally going to play him like an acceptable amount.
Another thing I will not be betting on.
Yeah, no chance.
Fair point. Brian, who did you go with here? Travis Konechny. Talk to us about Konechny. Safe.
Yeah, Travis Konechny is safe, dual eligibility. I'm starting to consider some positional eligibility. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to consider some positions now, and I really would need someone with some dual eligibility, and Konechny is a very safe pick in the late 6th round. So, yeah, I had no problem with that.
Ryan's timer is going nuts, and he gets forced into drafting Ovechkin, which is not a bad pick in the 6th round here. So, nice on you, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm like that's the lowest Ovechkin's been drafted in the past 15 years.
It's still good. He's got a good
years.
playoff schedule. Like, I don't dislike that.
Yeah, and I mean he's on a 67-point pace. Like that's pretty much what I expect for him rest of the season, and I'm happy with that. He's scored 22 goals in 59 games. I think that's still reasonable, and that puts him right around like the 60th ranked skater. So I'm getting him a little bit of at value here, I think.
Thank you.
And then I do go with Alex Tuck here at the 7-1, where he's really turned it on and proven to be a great Sabre top guy. And I think there's only room to grow for Alex Tuck. He's still getting power play 2 treatment at times here and there because he is so relied upon for heavy minutes at even strength, defensive zone minutes at even strength, and playing on the penalty kill. So sometimes they just leave him off that top power play. So maybe for the rest of the season, he's solidified on the top power play with Tage, who maybe is coming off a 10-goal, 6-game Olympics. We'll see. And Alex Tuck will start going at a point per game pace.
I love that. Brian snipes me. Talk to me about it, Brian.
I will. But I first got to give Ryan his flowers. I really like that Alex Tuck pick. We talked about it 2 weeks ago, the amount of games Buffalo has left in the season. So I think that's brilliant. Well done. But yeah, Nico Hischier, I was actually torn between him and someone else. And I'm thinking that other person I can get a little bit later. And I've seen all the other top, New Jersey players go already, and they got a good playoff schedule. So give me some Nico Hischier. We know he runs super hot or super cold, and let's just hope that the rest of the season it's very hot the rest of the season. So we'll see where it goes. I have a lot of faith in Nico.
I am mad at Nico Hischier, particularly just from Switzerland's first Olympic game, because I had quite a few parlays where Hischier was meant to just get one point with Fiala and Yossi, and couldn't do it.
Unbelievable.
Couldn't. It's unbelievable. So then you went Nico Hischier at the 7-4, Timo Meier at the 7-5, Bo Horvat at the 7-6. I was kind of considering taking. Nate, I'm curious on your take with Bo Horvat's point production, like rest of season. He's had a really good season, gets selected to the Olympics. What do you think, like rest of season for him? You think he kind of continues this, or is he going to fall off?
Yeah, I think he's run pretty hot to get to this point, 17% shooting percentage, but he has been better under the hood. So like, I honestly think that the point pace at 75 points in the 44 games he's played, that's his 82 game point pace. I think that's pretty close to sustainable. He ranks 14th on the season in individual expected goals for. I think he's not far off this pace, and yeah, I was kind of hoping that he might slip to the end of this round.
Yeah. Miguel Sergachev, again, another really good defenseman, goes at the 7-7 after that. Great pick by Drewski. And then I went with Joel Eriksson Ek. I just want a piece of Minnesota. You were kind of talking about it, Ryan. Ever since the acquisition of Quinn Hughes, they have all just their points have all just skyrocketed. That top power play, Boldy, Jeek, Kaprizov, even Zuccarello continuing to remain hot. I honestly think they're one piece away. If they can get a solidified number one center instead of Ryan Hartman to play with Cap and Zuccarello, like if they can go get Ryan O'Reilly or Kadri somehow, I think this really takes off and they're a true Stanley Cup contender. They've got all the pieces everywhere else. But I just wanted a piece of Minnesota. Brian, talk to me about how I screwed up that pick.
No, it's funny because we seem to always be talking about Minnesota being one more pick or one more move away. But yeah, I actually think, the Jeek pick is actually great. And I think to myself, every single time we do one of these drafts, somehow Jeek always gets picked later and like later than you'd expect him to get picked. So I actually really like it. I too would want a piece of that Minnesota power play now that Quinn Hughes is in town. Seems like they're all collectively putting up 2 or 3 points a night. So yeah, get a piece of that. They don't have a great playoff schedule, but while you have them the rest of the season, it's definitely valuable.
As Nate's on the board here, Ryan, I kind of wanted to touch on something I think about with playoff schedule stuff. I mean, this is a little bit different because we're drafting now, but like to me, there's certain situations where you look at guys and you're like, okay, they can have 2 more off nights or they can have 1 more game played. In my mind, I always want the better player in the better scenario, even if they're going to get 1 less game played or if they're, 1 or 2 less off nights, in my mind anyways. Now, if you're getting like 2+ more nights, games played or, 3 off nights, 4 off nights, something like that, like it's a little bit different. But talk to me about that kind of thought process. Do you think the same way or would you rather have more games played in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think I trend towards the opposite end of that where I do want more games played because I would look at the stats that are going to come and the projected stats that are going to come probabilistically. So I would, I might project out like, okay, I expect 0.8 points per game here, or let's say expected fantasy points per game. And then you just say, okay, over 4 games, if his expected fantasy points per game is 4, that'll give me an expected fantasy points total of 12, where even if you have a better player at 4.5 fantasy points per game expected over 3 games, that's only 11.5. So yes, there is like a ceiling versus floor, but I think in all of these conversations, the players are similarly valued where they both have ceiling cases and they both have floor cases. So I would tend to go towards a similarly slightly lower valued player with an extra game in a fantasy week.
Jump scare there, goalie coming off.
First goalie taken in the 8th round, Vasilevsky. Solid work, Mr. Mumps, at the 8-3.
I also got to say, Mr. Mumps sniped me pretty hard with the Goss's Bear pick there.
So this is one of my buddies, and he's basically taking all of my picks as well. I have Crosby and Ghost in this league, so I think he's just trying to troll me, which is nice, but also good picks. Good picks.
Oh. And Nate, you take after Ghost goes, it's Dobson, and then you take Brad Marchand and Jackson Lacombe. We've talked a lot about Jackson Lacombe on Trade Talks, but I don't know if we've really talked about Brad Marchand. We may have given him some hate early in the season when he was like just going off as the only Florida Panther. So what do you see for Brad Marchand rest of the way? Is he a 3rd line guy or is he in their top 6?
Well, yeah, I think he wasn't really healthy there, right? Coming into this break here, it's just starting to come back. So we'll see what it looks like when he is fully back. But I still think he's a pretty big part of that team. He was like the play driver for them when Tkachuk and Barkov were both out earlier in the season. Now Tkachuk is back, so maybe that takes a bit of onus off him. I just think that we've seen it with Brad Marchand. We've seen it like even in the Four Nations for him to be effective in lower minutes. So I'm not like that worried about him. Even if he goes to like power play 2, I just think Brad Marchand is going to find a way to inflict himself on hockey games and his opponents. And I think that, yeah, at the 7-12, that's a pretty good bet.
What a verb. Inflict. That is the exact word I would use to describe how Brad Marchand plays hockey. Interesting comment here. Maxwell Wong. I saw a video on Instagram of guys letting their wives or girlfriends make their picks. Would you guys consider it? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is if you haven't heard, this is the podcast where you go if you're trying to take fantasy hockey seriously. So
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's significant other knows something about fantasy hockey, then by all means, I think that could be fun. But I'm like, I would not be able to relinquish control. That's a me problem. That has nothing to do with my wife. That's just a me problem.
That's a fair
Yeah,
point. If they had the knowledge, sure. But if my wife, who hates fantasy hockey and everything about it because I spend so much time obsessing over it, if I had the first overall pick and my draft selection was on Nathan McKinnon, she could press the button to hit draft. How's that?
yeah. Listen, I do that with fantasy football. I don't take fantasy football as seriously as fantasy hockey. So in my sit-start decisions in fantasy football, I'm always asking my wife. I'm like, okay, which name do you like better? And then there we go. That's how I make my decisions, but not fantasy hockey.
That's actually a good point, Ryan. I asked my wife the same thing about. I really try to get her advice about fantasy football. I say, hey, like, should I start this person, this person? Her advice is pretty consistent. It's always, I don't care. Stop asking me. So it really comes full circle. So I just go back to the mirror and I ask the guy in the mirror because he seems to know.
I think it's funny because I actually have in many of my leagues asked my wife to pick the starting goalie when I have a few options, because anytime I pick a goalie, it's the wrong decision. I've never correctly picked a goalie to stream in my entire life. When I stream Joel Hofer, he lets in 5 goals, then he gets yanked, then they put Binnington and he lets in 2, then they put him in for another 3 goals again. It's the worst goalie performance of the season. So what can you do?
That's tremendous.
Where did we leave off here, gentlemen? We got Nate. I think we left.
Vasi.
Yeah. So we got Montour at the 8-4. It's a good pick by Lucio. I went with Erik Karlsson for the playoff schedule. I think he's kind of had an underperforming role in the Pittsburgh offense, especially on that power play. But I think in the playoffs it will be better. Tomas Hertl, who I consider taking as well, by Drewski, great pick at the 8-6. Brock Faber, I still think he's playing with Quinn Hughes, even strength. He's PP2, which doesn't sound like much, but he's going to get points by association. It's kind of crazy what he's doing with his glasses there in the pick at 8-7. I kind of love that. Then Tavares at the 8-8. That's a really good pick, actually, I think, by Fantasy Hockey Professor. Brian, you go with Matthew Barzal. Talk to us about Barzy at the 8.
Oh, why don't you tell me how great it is first?
I like it. He was in my queue. I think, again, he's like the second guy you want outside of Schaefer and or Horvat, but I mean, he's done quite well, and I think the Islanders have pretty decent schedule, so I like it.
All right, so you asked me why I picked him. That's why. No, actually, it's funny because you guys keep sniping me. It's like you guys know what you're talking about. I wanted Karlsson, and then I wanted Hertl. And I'm looking, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll reach for Barzal, but Barzal, we know the underlines never look great with Barzal, but he always does really well. And I think that more is still to come for Barzal. I love the way he plays the game. And I think at the end of the game when they're losing, he seems to always have the puck on his stick. And if they're going to get in a late goal, it's going to go through him. And I'm just going to have to need a piece of that. Speaking of Erik Karlsson and the Pittsburgh Penguins, I decided to go with Brian Russ with my next pick.
Great pick. He was on my board.
Okay, where do we go? John Tavares, Matthew Barzal. After that, at the 8-10, it was Seth Jones, Dylan Cousins, Brock Nelson, who can't stop scoring, Pavel Dorofeyev, Thomas Harley, Dougie Hamilton. I went with Brian Rust. And then we got the Nuge, Beckett Seneca, and then Rupe Hintz. I'm going to throw it over to you, Ryan. Talk to me about two great goal scorers in Brock Nelson and Pavel Dorofeyev.
Yeah. Brock Nelson, that's what he's doing on Colorado. I was going to say he's single-handedly rescued the Colorado Avalanche power play. But I did just look at like the last month, and Colorado is still at the bottom of the league. But it seems like Brock Nelson is in on every power play goal that occurs in Colorado. And he's still in the top 6 at even strength. I really like what he's doing on Colorado. Really in the last like 2 months, take away the very start of the season, and I think he might be on a point per game pace. So that's really cool. I think he's on a 70-point pace if you take the whole season, and he's just going to keep scoring. And in this league, goals are worth more than assists. So give me Brock Nelson and give me Pavel Dorofeyev, who doesn't dish the puck at all. He doesn't get any assists, but he scores goals. And that's where in a fantasy week, if Dorofeyev can score 3 goals for you and that's his 3 points, like that's going to be well worthwhile, more than someone who's like going to get 6 assists, if my math is correct. So yeah, Dorofeyev, he has 26 goals already in 57 games. He's a fixture on the Vegas top power play, and I think 40 goal season is realistic and incoming for Dorofeyev, even if it only comes with 20 assists as well. So yeah, I like these 2 goal scorers.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Ryan, I promise you right now, if you tell me that math is right, I won't fact check you. It's too late for me to even have to think, so math looks good. Moving on here, after Ryan went Dorofeyev, we already did that recap from where we end at Rupe Hintz at the 9-7, and then Evan went with John Carlson. We got Brant Clark, Kevin Fiala. Evan, talk to me about John Carlson and why he isn't as good as Jacob Chychrun.
He's not, but it's interesting. I think, Jacob Chychrun's still doing stuff like without that top power play. I can't tell you how many times as a Jacob Chychrun owner, I'm looking over at the score sheet for Washington and it's assist by John Carlson.
Yeah.
Like, Chychrun is getting a ton of goals and he's on that top power play, but Chychrun really doesn't need the top power play to be valuable as a defenseman. And I kind of like their playoff schedule as well. So yeah, I want a piece of Washington, and John Carlson to me as my 3rd or 4th defenseman, I will definitely take.
He's reliable, like very reliable as one of your depth defensemen too, right? I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so after John Carlson, we go Brant Clark at the 9-9. He was kind of up there for me as well. A couple of LA Kings, Kevin Fiala, Mr. Mumps, Drake Batherson goes at the 9-11. And Nate snipes me. I wanted him in my queue. I had Will Smith, hoping to get him way later than where Nate took him at the 9-12. Really good pick. Really good pick. Nick Ehlers at the 10-1. Man, I overdrafted this guy in several leagues. But Raquel at the 10-2, Hedman at the 10-3. I think he's still got a really good playoff schedule. I just hate that they have him on a line with Jordan Martinook and Jordan Stahl, 2 of like the premier players in Carolina.
Yeah, I kind of drafted guys I wanted to talk about, so do that
Fair.
Will Smith, we all know how much we are drooling over Macklin Celebrini currently. I think it's going under the radar a little bit just how good Will Smith has been when he's been playing. He had 6 points in the last 5 games before the break here, over 19 minutes a night. Everything's clicking. He's on a 76-point pace in the 42 games he's played. He's starting to shoot the puck even more, which I really like to see. I think Will Smith is maturing into like the Jesper Bratt equivalent. If you compare Celebrini to Jack Hughes, he's becoming the Mitch Marner to Macklin Celebrini's Austin Matthews. He can fully be that guy. And so I just want to have Will Smith on every team possible for the next decade. Nikolai Ehlers, I think he's really come on. I don't know if people really realize how much he's come on in the last month or so, probably since the new year. But he has really come on. Yes, the the Rod the Bod situation is still alive and well, but even with that, he's probably in this range, like with a lot of these other players that are going off the board here. And the plus or minus on Ehlers is so huge that I'm willing to take the swing here, because if it goes right, it could go very, very right. And once you get to the 10th round, that's where I start to make those kind of calls.
Yeah, I like that. Especially, I think Svech, knock on wood, I do like him as a player, but he's been healthy this season. I feel like he hasn't been consistently healthy all these years. We got Ehlers, and then Raquel at the 10-2, Hedman at the 10-3, really good pick by Mr. Mumps as well. Connor Hellebuck, second goalie off, which is interesting considering, like you said, Nate, earlier, his performance thus far. Maybe the Olympics will spark him to something greater. I go with Malkin at the 10-5. It's crazy to me what Malkin's doing this year, turning back the clock. Similar to the John Carlson take I had watching Washington games. Every time I check the score sheet for Pittsburgh, Malkin's either getting an assist or a goal. He's made it clear that he wants to come back for another year. If he can stay relatively healthy down the stretch, that Pittsburgh schedule I really like. Jordan Kyrie's come on really well recently as well. And so that's a good pick by Drewski at the 10-6, Trevor Zegras at the 10-7, Val Nichushkin at the 10-8, which I think is a sneaky pick by Fantasy Hockey Professor if he can end up on that top power play at all. Brian, you go with Vince Dunce. Tell us about Vince Dunce.
Vince Dunn, I like Seattle's power play has actually been surprising, especially the last couple months. They're actually have been pretty decent. Vince Dunn has been a part of that, and Jared McCann has been cooking. So if you get a piece of whatever Jared McCann is firing, I'm okay with that. And considering he's going to be one of my third defenseman here in the late 10th round, I'm happy with that. Speaking of Jared McCann, I should have probably grabbed him.
You said him, and Ryan went right to the board. He was my top of the list. Yeah, you're right about Jared McCann. I think if that's your guy,
you nailed it.
Pick your guy.
That's really good.
Yeah.
No,
I think Jared McCann. I think he's on point per game pace. His since he returned from injury, I think he actually has 23 points in 21 games since he's returned from injury. And really showing what he could do as the top guy in Seattle. I don't think he's getting.
He's not getting
his ice time has increased from previous seasons.
14 to 16.
But really the last game before the break, he had 19 minutes. The game before that, it was 17, 18, 16. So that's a lot better than the 14 minutes. That we were seeing at some times throughout the season on Seattle. So I like Jared McCann there. And then after Vince Dunn, Uyghur went, and then Sorokin was the third goalie off the board. Hellebuck went before Sorokin. Sorokin's been getting 2 out of 3 starts in New York on the Islanders. I do think that has potential to creep up as they start to make a stretch into the playoffs. And David Rittich has not been as strong in his last 4 games. So I think Sorokin could get some more starts. And I do actually like that pick in the 10th round. That was the dynasty team. He went Ottinger right after as well. So he's banking on some goalies for his dynasty team. We'll see if it pays off. I went Jared McCann, then I went Sam Bennett. And then he took Jake Ottinger, and then Nick Schmaltz went at the 11-3, and then Brian at the 11-4. Talk to us.
Owen Tippett. Yeah, I went with Owen Tippett here. I need a left winger. He's got dual eligibility, shoots the puck a lot, been pretty good all season. And if Philadelphia has any chance making the playoffs, they're going to have some energy lines, and he's the one who kind of runs the energy in Philly. So I already got Konechny. I can stack it with some Tippett here.
Very nice. And then Gabe Velarde goes right after that, which I really like that as a pick. Shea Theodore, and then William Eklund, and then Evan. You're banking on Vinny Tro staying on the Rangers, or are you hoping he gets traded to Minnesota? What are you doing with Vinny Tro at the 11th round?
Vinny Tro, Nate says he's a friend of the show, and he's a friend of mine because either way you put it, like if he's on the Rangers, he gets you crazy good off nights and great schedule. If he gets traded, to me, it's going to be either to Minnesota or to Carolina, and both of those to me will boost his fantasy value. Carolina has a decent schedule, and then Minnesota, we already know what's going to happen if he goes there. So, yeah.
I thought we agreed Carolina was a place that will not boost anyone's fantasy value. But Vinny Tro, it will.
Vinny Tro, except Vinny Tro. Because you know what? We all know Rod the Bod loves these grinder players. Vinny Tro is the embellishment of that. He is a Carolina Hurricane, like, you know, but he's on the Rangers, right? Like, I mean, if he played second line if they could make a real second line, like, so they have Aho, Svetch, and Jarvis, and then if they go Trocheck, Jackson, Blake, and Ehlers, I'm really excited about that, honestly.
Yeah. All right. And then Sergei Bobrovsky goes as the 5th goalie off the board. And then Rob Thomas goes 11-10. Yeah. Kiefer the B for Sherwood goes, he got one game playing on Celebrini and Will Smith's line, so that's pretty cool. And then Nate, 2 guys you love talking about. Who'd you go with here?
Yeah, another couple guys I like talking about. Troy Terry, I think if and when Leo Carlson comes back, that's going to mean big things for Anaheim in general, but also for Troy Terry here. And yeah, I think that he could be better than he has been the last little bit, and a little bit more towards where he was at the beginning of the season. I think that's well within the realm of possibilities here. And then Logan Cooley, at this point in the 12th round, taking swings on guys I think could kind of go off here. I think you look at what Utah's been able to do without him, and that's been pretty impressive. And I think if they add Logan Cooley to that mix, particularly if he can find some chemistry alongside Guenther, those two could just have an absolute fire wagon of a finish here, and we could all be pretty happy with the Logan Cooley on our squads.
Yeah, I like that. Do you think he'll be shoot into the top power play, or they were doing some like weird split power plays before the break, eh?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that Cooley at this stage, like at the 12th round, I'm willing to take the risk. Yeah, I'm not confident, I would say, that he's going to be there, but right around here, I'm taking the risk.
Yeah. And then another young guy goes right after, Adam Fantilli, who I think he's actually had a disappointing season, especially in the goal department. He's actually picked up a lot more assists, fewer goals, and right around this time, or March, if you look back at last season, he went on an absolute tear, shooting like 50%. It was wild to finish the season. So that doesn't actually tell you anything about what's to come, but it's just an interesting stat. And then Luke Hughes goes to 12-3. Maybe that's a snipe on Evan, maybe not. And then Morgan Riley.
I was going to take him with the very last pick of the draft.
Okay. And then you take the Zucchini Man, Evan.
I love everything about the Zucchini Man. Again, I can't get enough about Minnesota. Like, if you can get a piece of their top power play, why don't you? I mean, what round are we in here? We're in the 12th round. 12th round Zucchini Man, sign me up.
Yeah, I like it too. And then Arturi Lehkonen goes right after. Then Matthias Samuelsson, who's just going crazy this season. No power play time, but he's scoring lots of goals, getting lots of points on Buffalo. We'll see if it holds up. Maybe he's a 60-point defenseman, but I don't think so. And then Jake Wallman goes, and then Brian, you go Elias Lindholm.
Yeah. Elias Lindholm, like at the beginning of the season, we all talked about him, the potential to have a bounce back year. And I just think if Boston's going to continue to play well, and if he plays on a line with Pasternak, that's going to work. I like Lindholm. He blocks a little bit too for a forward. And I'm pretty sure I got to double check. Is he healthy now? I think he's healthy now. And he just missed the last couple games. So if he's healthy, give him to me. 12th round. Yeah. 12th round, Elias Lindholm. I'll take that all day.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think it's interesting because, like, obviously if this was a draft for, beginning of the year, like either next year from the beginning of the year, this year, like kind of reverse, I'd play this a little bit differently, but I'm kind of specifically drafting, assuming like I have like a top seed in the playoffs and like going to make it there. So that's kind of how I'm drafting. I don't know if you guys are. I also just kind of assumed that I had like the number 1 or 2 seed. Did you guys all assume that as well in this fictitious situation?
We probably should have clarified. I did not.
I'm not like fighting
Your
for
guys-
my life for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are going to have to go off to get you there.
That's what I'm saying. So I kind of drafted under this strange premise that I had already acquired the number 1 seed.
I don't know what you've done in your fantasy hockey career to suggest to yourself that you'd be in that position, but
Again, Nate, this is a fictitious situation. I just, I put myself there. Nobody else put me there.
a man can dream.
Karel Vejmelka, Ryan, great pick at the 12 spot. 0 G option this year. This guy's heralded. I love this guy.
Yeah,
Bunch of
Carroll.
wins.
And then I'm going with the Eggman. The Eggman, Darnell Nurse. I gotta
For the memes.
I gotta do it. We're in the range of defensemen where you're not gonna really like any of them here. And give me the floor of his blocks, shots, and hits. And then maybe just at the right time, he's gonna get lucky and just score all those goals like he did at the beginning of the season. Like the first 3 weeks, he was going crazy, and I think he was a top 5 fantasy defenseman. And then ever since then, he has not done anything offensively. But he's still putting up crazy blocks, crazy good hits, good shots. So I like the floor there as a defenseman in the 13th round. I'll take the Eggman here, who has exposure to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Yeah,
It's not a bad situation. Just by association, and the shiniest head in the league, so we like that. After you went with Darnell Nurse, went with Rasmus Anderson, Will Cooley. I went with Phil Hronik, then Thomas Chabot, Tyler Bertuzzi, Philip Gustafson. Real quickly, I'll say one quick thing on Philip Hronik. The reason I decided to go with Hronik is because Vancouver is so bad that all of his peripherals by association have gone up. His ice has gone up. He's going to be he's hitting more. He's blocking more. He's shooting about the same. But everything else is going up. And now with the injuries in Vancouver, he's now going to be power play 1 for a little bit. So can you squeeze me out some goals there? Can you squeeze me out some points additionally? He could. And it's worth taking a shot as my last defenseman here. Or my 4th. I shouldn't say last. My 4th. Who wants to rip on me? Is that a bad take?
No, I actually wanted Hronik. I was hoping that he was coming back to the 13th.
Yes.
Hronik and Chabot were the top of my queue.
All right, cool.
Chabot's good too. Yeah, they both are really. They were both like in that like range of really good like 4th defenseman for this range for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
And then we had go. You can go for it, Brian.
All right. After Thomas Chabot, we got Tyler Bertuzzi, and then the Philip Gustafson, and then Evan went with John Gibson, and then followed by Carter Verhaeghe. Gibson, Evan? You like that take?
Hometown favorite. Ever since he kind of settled into his role there, he's really taken over. The Wings dropped a few like before the Olympic break, but he's been phenomenal, honestly. So yeah, give me the Red Wings goalie. I'll ride with it. Out of the ones that were available, and he's starting a fair number of starts over Cam Talbot. It's no longer at times, but like it was earlier in the year.
Yeah, he's been great. He's been really good this year.
He's what we wanted, what we needed.
Now you just need Trocheck. So you guys just need one more piece maybe to bring you over the top.
I had already pre-ordered my Panarin jersey to the Wings long before the reporting was complete, so I may have like a fake Red Wings Panarin jersey, but maybe I can still talk to him a little bit and swing him over to Detroit. We'll send LA a bag of pucks or something. And after Gibson, we got Verhaeghe at the 13-9, Boone Jenner at the 13-10, Anton Lundell at the 13-11, and then Nate goes with his first goalie in Mackenzie Blackwood, and then follows it up with his second goalie, Logan Thompson. Nate, I was half expecting you to not draft a goalie. What happened here?
What happened was Brian took Philip Hronik, and my brain exploded. So taking some goalies. Basically, it's just that I think that everybody in my queue at the skater positions is just as likely to come back to me as they are to get drafted. So I'm just going to take whoever falls there, and I'll grab some goalies.
I like that. I mean, two pretty good goalies for the 13th and 14th round, Mackenzie Blackwood and Logan Thompson. It's kind of interesting. I got Mackenzie Blackwood really late, I think in the Experts League, and I was pretty happy about it because I went Gus Bus and Blackwood like in way late rounds, and I was like, man, I'm gonna have like the best goalie tandem. And Mackenzie Blackwood starts the season there, and Bednar's like, yeah, like he just needs a few more practices before he warms up. Meanwhile, a month and a half into the season, Scott Wedgwood is the number one goalie, and now they're splitting starts the rest of the season. So,
yeah, Blackwood's been getting a little bit more starts lately. I do think he takes it over in the last little bit here, and if he does, then I believe he's going to get a whole lot of wins. So that's why I went with him over. Like, I considered a guy like Swayman getting a lot of starts on a team that's winning as well, but yeah, it was hard to go away from Colorado there.
Not bad. Now you've started. Look what you've started here, Nate. Do you see what you've
goalie
done?
Run?
Yeah.
We got so Nate went with Logan Thompson 14-1. Shesterkin goes at the 14-2. I have not heard a peep about injury updates from him. Have any of you?
Nothing.
Who? Nothing.
No, I don't know. Like, I mean, do they have incentive to even play him rest of season? Like, I'm curious to see how that goes. Jonathan Quick's been so stellar in his old age too. Jeremy Swayman at the 14-3, Peterka at the 14-4, and I'm on the clock.
But Evan, I'll let you take your pick here, but we really got to ask ourselves, we talk about 0G. Do we care about the goalie updates? It's like
that's a good point. That's a really good point. And as you say that, I'm gonna go with my boy Lucas Dastahl that I took in a lot of spots heading into the season. I still have faith. He had a bad little stretch coming back from injury, but he's been good after that. And I think if the Ducks get healthier, if they get Leo Carlson back and kind of get things sorted out here in the second half, they have a decent playoff schedule with off nights, like in I think it's like the second round, what would be in our style.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in the last 2 months, Dostal quietly is tied for the most amount of starts. So you want that volume in this league.
Don't tell
the last
anybody,
the last 9 games, they showed a graphic in the Czech game today against Canada. In the last 9 games, Dostal has a .930 save percentage. So yeah, he's been doing a little better as of late. Honestly, that was probably. I didn't even see Dostal there. Honestly, I was just scrolling through goalies on Fantrax and clicking too quick because that's how I think about them most of the time. But yeah, if I had seen Dostal there when I was doing my quick scroll through, I probably would have taken him over either of the other 2 that I took.
Yeah, that's good. And I mean, I just really want you to own this, Nate. We're going to have to send this to Blake. I mean, what you created here is a disaster. As we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goalies taken in the 14th round.
It's hideous.
Oh God.
Oh,
it does warm my heart though to see Brandon Bussey taken. I'll say that. I like that.
I mean, the Canes have another goaltender?
Frederick Anderson is not a goalie anymore.
Yeah, not one that can stop a puck.
Well, if the games only went a period and a half, then Frederick Anderson might have the best numbers, in the last month. But because they play 3 periods, Frederick Anderson is a terrible goalie. Josh Doan at the 14-11 is actually really good by Adam 949, continuing his dynasty team. But Josh Doan's been really good this season. It's kind of fallen off a little bit lately, but he still overall is good. And as long as he's on that top power play, I have interest in Josh Doan too. And then Ryan goes with Jacob Trouba, throwing hits, throwing shade at the Rangers, and then Kadri. Talk to us about these picks, Ryan.
Yeah, so with my D here, I took Werenski and Quinn Hughes in the first 2 rounds. So I got the top point getting defenseman there, aside from Cale Makar, and then excuse me, and then I'm just rounding out my D slots with some higher floor block guys. So Darnell Nurse and Jacob Trouba. Trouba started the season really not putting up a lot of blocks at all, and that's something he was known for, to potentially lead the league in blocks. But if you look just at the last 2 months, he's well over 2 blocks per game, back to his normal stuff. So his floor is going to be right up there to finish the season. And then you guys remember when Jacob Trouba was scoring at like a 20-goal pace and getting in on all the Anaheim hot stuff? Well, if Anaheim turns things up to what they were doing for that hot stretch, Jacob Trouba could go nuclear and, maybe score like 5 goals in the last 20 games. Who knows?
Nuclear and Jacob Trouba in the same sentence.
You've heard that once before, and that was at the beginning of this season.
He was going nuclear.
He was.
And then I did take Kadri there. This is an interesting one where, if he doesn't get traded, I do think he will get traded. If he doesn't get traded, I still think he has more to give in the fantasy season, especially as games stop to matter for wins. Like, he could just be more loosey-goosey, get more offense going, and shoot the puck at a crazy rate on Calgary. But if he does get traded, it'll be a big question mark if he's traded to a deep team, and if he's on the third line, second power play, then it won't be a good pick here. But if he can get himself to the top power play, potentially in the top 6, it could be really good value here in the 15th round. He could be a point per game guy if he goes to Colorado again. He was getting a 95 point pace on Colorado last time he was an Avalanche.
Yeah, it's like Brock Nelson in Colorado. Brock Nelson's been incredible recently, right? No, that's actually really interesting because Nazem Kadri, you'd expect him to be doing a lot better. And I think it's impossible for him to do any worse than he already is currently doing. So I think any sort of change for Kadri in this situation would be a good change. And if you're going to get him in the 15th round, I'd imagine you'll get some value regardless. Kadri in the 15th.
Yeah. And his shooting percentage is 6. His on-ice shooting percentage is like 8.8, I believe. So hopefully that turns around. And then after I took Kadri, the Dynasty fella, he took Josh Doan before that, by the way, another young guy. And then he took Alexei Protas, and then Linus Ullmark went, continuing this crazy goalie run. And then Brian, you went with Stu Skinner.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much to say. It's a goalie.
It's a goalie. I needed one, but Stuart Skinner in Pittsburgh has been pretty damn good. So we talked about Pittsburgh's playoff schedule. Even though he doesn't get, the majority of the starts, it's really one-on, one-off. I'll take Stu Skin.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
And then Zane Parekh goes, which, I totally forgot about this guy, and I think that is an awesome pick. I probably should have taken Zane Parekh instead of the Eggman or Jacob Trouba here, because there's just a ton of upside of what he could do for the rest of the season if he's slotted into the top power play on the Flames. Even on the Flames, who has the worst offense in hockey right now, Zane Parekh could turn that around if he's given the opportunity. So I like that. And then Matheson goes, and then Charlie Coyle goes, and then Evan, you take Jason Zucker.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Buffalo stack a little bit. Top power play with Tage Thompson. When he's on that top power play, he's really good net front guy around the puck. So I'll take those power play points and the goals that he's going to get. After that, it goes Matt Duchene at the 15-9. Patrick Kane at the 15-10 is a really good pick. Falk at the 15-11 I actually kind of like as well. And then Nate, you go with Matthias Ekholm and Snuggie. I've heard you talk about this guy a lot recently on the pod.
Yeah, I really like Jimmy Snuggles. I think that St. Louis, the way their season is trending, they are probably just going to let him run rampant here in the last bit of the season and just force feed him minutes and see what he's got in the tank. And I think what he's got in the tank is actually pretty special. So I think that we could be looking at 60 to 70 point pace for Jimmy Snuggles rest of the season. That wouldn't be too shocking. So a guy that you could get in the 16th round, I can do something like that, I think is well worth the swing at the very least. And then Matthias Ekholm, he's actually been, if you look at the last 30 days in this format, he's been one of the top 25 defenders in fantasy points per game. I think Edmonton is going to sort things out after the break here. Maybe some of their guys were looking ahead to the Olympics a little bit too much, but It's Edmonton. You have to figure they're going to figure things out. Ekholm will get at least a piece of that. And I think you, in the 15th round, getting a guy there who should provide just kind of steady back end of your lineup production, be a guy you don't have to worry about taking out of your lineup. I think that's worth it there.
Nice. And we got Joseph Wool at the 16-2, Josh Norris at the 16-3, Marshall at the 16-4. I went with Quentin Byfield at the 16-5 just because, it's more of a flyer, Nate. If he plays with Panarin, then, maybe something gets working there. I still believe in the player individually. I really think it's just Jim Hiller killing him. But you have to think that if Panarin gets on that line with him and Fiala, that would highly benefit all of them. But we'll see. It's a late flyer. I really wanted to comment quickly on the Skinner pick, Brian, because I do think it's a good pick. He's played quite well, and this leads me to believe in I think it's simple, but maybe you guys can correct me here. So Skinner leaves Edmonton, and all of a sudden he's a well above average goalie, and Tristan Jarry, who was playing quite well on Pittsburgh before he got traded, goes to Edmonton and all of a sudden becomes horrible. Now, granted, he did suffer an injury. Is it just the fact that every time Edmonton plays, Connor McDavid is rushing up the ice, deking through three people, and so you've got 2 to 3 forwards all up the ice, and then you're constantly on the reverse check, giving up 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s, breakaways because you're constantly on the rush play and not setting up in the zone, and then you got Evan Bouchard just falling down, trying to make a hit, flying past the guy. Does anyone have a comment on that? Is it the structure of play in Edmonton that leads to this?
I was gonna say it's not. I don't think it's McDavid rushing up the ice. It's having Bouchard on the back, But yeah, go ahead.
I think that Edmonton is not as well coached as a lot of people think they are. I think particularly in the defensive zone, I think the playoff style kind of benefits them, and that's why they can perform there. I think we all know what McDavid and Draisaitl do for that team, but I think it would be if you just transplanted John Cooper as the coach of that Edmonton team, I think you would instantly see just how good that team could be, and especially the top guys there. So yeah, I think there is a structural thing. I thought that you were going to say, Evan, is Pittsburgh just better than Edmonton?
No, not that crazy of a take.
Yeah, but I do think there's something to the take that it could be a significantly better goalie environment. I don't think that's too crazy to say for fantasy purposes at the very least. So, yeah, I think, if you're taking Skinner straight up over Jarry, I don't think that's a hot take, honestly.
I think it's just hilarious looking at the keyboard warriors for Edmonton when they come after Stu Skinner for being a terrible goalie, and then Tristan Jarry comes in there after having a good season in Pittsburgh, and they're all after him now too. And it's you gotta at some point kind of address the underlying issue. And I agree with you, Nate, on the coaching aspect and the style.
Yeah. And then yes, where were we? We had. Did we go over right after Snuggles?
I think was 16-6
okay.
after my pick.
I just wanted to say the word Snuggles again, but
who does?
But yeah, we had Mikael Granlund go, and then the Vezina winner of this year. You heard it here. You heard it here. Second and third and fourth. Jet Greaves goes in the 16th round. Although before the Olympic break, Elvis Merzlikins is having a career resurgence. He's getting a whole bunch of starts on Columbus with the new coach there. So, yeah, maybe Jack Greaves will not win the Vezina, but
we're so close.
We'll see. Yes. And then Jordan Eberle goes. Brian, got anything to say about Jordan Eberle?
He's been having a great year. I'll take him in the 16th round. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think at this point it's okay. I mean, if his production continues, then it's all good value at this point. And then Tyler Toffoli goes at the 16-10, Matty Beniers 16-11, and then I was really surprised UC Saros is still here as the 18th goalie off the board. I think so far he's the 6th or 7th ranked goalie in this format. And it's just the volume. He's still getting the starts in Nashville, and they have turned it around recently. Even if they don't turn it around and they're a terrible team, Saros is going to get hammered with pucks and pick up the saves. And I think he is pretty locked in to be a top 10 APL points fantasy goalie. So I'll just take that. I'll forget about him there in my goalie slot to just pick up the points, get the majority of the starts. And then I took Alex Lafreniere. I can't say his name ever since watching the Blake pod with Louis Boulet. I can't say his name anymore. Lafreniere, yeah, he's been scoring in bunches of late. He's been going on stretches of nothing and then bursting for 3 points in a game, 2 points in a game. But his shots have increased recently. A little bit of extra ice time, top power play unit, and give me that Rangers playoff schedule. So if Lafreniere can pick things up a bit and be just like a 60-point pace player, I'm very happy with that, especially in the semifinals when he's going to play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And then Miroslav Askarov goes to Team Dynasty here. And then Chris Kreider goes. Dubois goes to Brian. And then Scotty Wedgwood goes. Then Tolvanen. Then Sean Dursey. Then Pavel Zacha. Then Aiden Hill. And then Sam Rinzel. Kent Johnson. Evan, did you want to say anything about Pavel Zacha? You got a huge 100-point pace prediction incoming?
No, he's not Morgan Geeky, Ryan. Let's settle down.
Okay.
But he does have a good playoff schedule, and when he's healthy, he was on the top power play. So I'll take that for getting a piece of Boston. I really wanted to compliment you, Brian, with this Pierre-Luc Dubois pick at 17-4. I think that's a really good pick. I think he eventually could work his way back onto the top power play, and that line with Protas, and I believe it's Tom Wilson's second line. Like, that's really good for like the 17th round, honestly.
Right? Worth a shot.
Really love it. And then, so I go Zacha, Aiden Hill, who, if you guys don't know, he made a save in the last game that they played before the Olympic break. He had a really good game, so he did something. I just want people to know. And he got a win. He didn't let in more than 4 goals. Sam Rinzel goes at the 17-10, Kent Johnson at the 17-11, and then Nate, you go with Marchman and Evangelista, sniping Evangelista from me, but talk to us about those.
Yeah, I think Marchman's just in a good spot here in Columbus. There's been some talk that he could get moved even again at the deadline here if they get a big enough offer for him. I tend to think that's not going to happen, but if it does, I'll deal with that there. It's a 17-12, but in the current spot he's in, if he's going to play line 1, power play 1 rest of the season, obviously I'm going to take a swing there. Evangelista, we've talked a lot about on the pod. I just think this guy's tremendous. He's having a great year. I think he's even due some positive regression on the goal scoring front. And so, yeah, sign me up in the 18th.
Like that. And then we got Pavel Buchnevich at the 18-2. Good pick by CanSense. Mr. Mumps goes Barkov, seeing if he can come back in record time from an ACL. Jacob Markstrom at the 18-4. That's a risky pick. I go with Ryan Leonard, hoping that he can still stay on the top power play and or get some more goals moving forward, as he's trying to fight. As he started going off, like the first few games that he went off, placed a bet on him for Calder, and then he got injured, and now Demidov and Beckett Seneca are kind of well ahead of him. So Ryan, you can laugh at me for that compared to your Vezina pick. And Drewski goes with Barbashev at the 18-6, Vladar at the 18-7, Mantha at the 18-8. Did you have any Calder votes, or you must have probably like 8 Calder guys in, right, Ryan? Futures at the beginning of the season.
Well, yeah, and then as soon as Matthew Schaefer started the season, like Cale Makar, I was like, I don't have any Matthew Schaefer shares, so I had to add Matthew Schaefer when he was at like plus 150, which I'm very happy I did. So I think I'm all covered as long as it's not like Shabanov out of the blue, like we're good.
Do you think that if either Demidov or Beckett Seneca go off and like say they end up with like 10 more points than him, do you think he still gets it? I think you have to give it to Matthew Schaefer, no?
Yeah, I think so. As long as like his production doesn't drop off a cliff, I think so. And I do like your Ryan Leonard pick here, because what me and you are thinking about, and I know you're thinking about this, we're going to win week number 1 in this league, because Washington as soon as Washington comes back from the playoffs, from the Olympic break, they play 3 games in the first 4 nights, the Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and then we get to. So I just took Justin Sordif. I'll take those 3 games, and then I'll swap him for someone else on the Sunday. And Buffalo does the same thing. So I'm taking Jack Quinn as well. Watch out. We're going to start 1-0 here in this redraft league.
I love that, but I think you missed the part, Ryan, where I said that I'm guaranteed the number 1 seed. So I'm not really worried about these upcoming weeks. I'm worried about the playoffs.
I think you also missed the part where I'm actually up in our matchup, Ryan, because this is halfway through the matchup. So I'm already up by 120 points.
That's right. Justin Sordif is going to have 5 points again in this first game back.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Are you guys not playing each other in the Experts League?
Yeah, I'm up by 2 points. I think I'm up by 2 points.
But who's counting?
Yeah.
Yep. No, actually, let the record state 1.85 points is the margin.
Ryan trying to throw an extra block in there, shocker.
Yeah, have you heard of rounding? I think. How many decimals do you want?
Good stuff here. Good stuff. Brian, you go with, so we end with Ryan at the 19-1 with Quinn, then Jackson Blake at the 19-2, Cole Perfetti for some reason still being drafted. And then Brian, you go with Bowen Byram at the 19-4. Pretty sneaky pick there.
Yeah, I was starting to get a little FOMO here with all you guys talking about your Buffalo players. So I was like, you know what? Let me get in there. I want to have the chance to finish in the top 2 for the week next week. So, but Byron's been having a great year, and I think again, as long as Buffalo keeps playing really well, like Byram is going to be a part of the offense, regardless, even though that's secondary, and also he's just kind of like a 5th defenseman at this point. So take a dart, throw it, hope for the best.
Like that. And then we got Brent Burns at the 19-5. Quite a season from Brent Burns at his age, honestly. I mean, you kind of expect it in Colorado, but still impressive to see. Bobby McMahon goes at the 19-6. Tristan Jarry at the 19-7. And I went with Gritsyuk, as you've talked about as well recently on the pod night. He's impressive. I just wish they would really play him with Jack Hughes more consistently. They had featured him on the top power play as of late, intermittently, but I think he's got the talent to be there, power play and first line.
Yeah, I'd love to see it at least, then we could know conclusively one way or another, but unfortunately, Sheldon Keefe would rather lose the season in spectacular fashion than try anything new. So here we are.
As some Leaf fans I'm here with, I mean, do you guys bear any ill will towards Sheldon Keefe? I mean, the guy has ruined the Devils, though, so far.
No, honestly, I think he probably did as good a job as could be expected with the Leafs. I do think he got out coached in like the playoffs in particular, but like going up against Maurice and going up against John Cooper every playoffs, like that's gonna happen. So yeah, do I think he's like a top end NHL coach? No. Do I think he single-handedly sunk the Leafs or anything? No. So yeah, I don't have any long-term feelings towards the guy.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm the same. I do think, like, as much as you can talk about player usage, systems, and everything, I think what he lacked was being like inspiring. Like, I don't know if that would make a difference with like the Leafs players, but it just seems like they weren't really needing to win. And every time I heard Sheldon Keefe in like the locker room in like a video or just anything, I was just like I wouldn't. That's uninspiring, Sheldon. Like I got nothing.
I think this is a little copium I'm hearing based on the fact that you guys now have Craig Berube, who wants Austin Matthews to lead the league in block shots. So I think you guys are missing the offensive prowess of Sheldon Keefe. I think that's it's good you guys bear no ill will, because as a Wings fan, I could say I really hated Jeff Blashill when he left the Wings, and I still have ill will. Yeah. Oh. If I saw one more presser with him saying the same thing with the same stupid face, I might have just stopped watching hockey for the rest of my life.
Interesting.
Sorry, Nate. We'll get to your picks here. Turn it positive. Anthony Stolarz goes at the 19.9, Beauvillier at the 19.10, Kindle at the 19.11. You go with Nazar and D'Angelo. Nazar, really good pick there, Nate.
Yeah, I like Nazar. If anybody's going to have a nice finish to the season, I think it'll be Nazar there from Chicago. I was looking at Kindle. He's had a nice little run in the lead up to the Olympics here, and really, really impressive what he's done in his rookie season. Great situation for a kid there in Pittsburgh. Lots of these wingers that are having great seasons. Mantha, Brazeau, all these guys. Now Chinnikov added to the mix. So I like that there for him. I went with D'Angelo. I was actually going to go, if Kindle had fallen, I was going to go with both Kindle and Nazar and go with 3D only in this format. If you actually look ahead, the weeks that we have remaining, there's a good amount of off nights available to you, and there's a pretty good chance that you're just going to be able to stream enough forwards and run with 3D if you really want to. So I don't think you have to like back yourself into taking 4 or 5D or rostering that many at this point in the season. So yeah, I was fully committed to the bit. I was gonna go with 3D just to say that, but D'Angelo, he's fine enough right now. They have been kind of splitting some power plays. I hope for Barzal and Schaefer and Horvat's sake that doesn't continue, but if it does, then D'Angelo will be the guy who benefits.
Nice.
Yeah, that is some great knowledge there. I haven't looked at the amount of on nights, but yeah, like those really heavy nights where 12 to 15 games are being played, that's when you're going to be like, okay, yeah, I should have 4D. But if there's not many of those, that's some great knowledge to have. Yeah.
Michael Misa goes at the 22, Jordan Bennington, Sam Montembeau. I went with Nikishin. As a Ghost owner in multiple leagues, I can say confidently I do not believe that Ghost will play the rest of the season completely healthy. I think he has been kind of managing this nagging groin injury, and so I think that there'll be times where he potentially misses a few games of stretches, like not maybe long term, but enough to where Nikishin, if he gets thrown in back on that top power play, he's looked really good. He's got a bomb, so I'll take that. Simone Edvidson goes at the 26, Neil Heineman at the 27, Joey Decord at the 28. Brian's thinking hard about his pick.
I am. You know what? Let me just keep going with the Buffalo train. Give me Ryan McLeod, if that's going to work. Ryan McLeod.
Great stream.
Yeah, great stream.
And I'm actually surprised Holloway was still there. I'm taking Dylan Holloway with the last pick of the draft. He could come back healthy and just do what he did on St. Louis when he started there, and scoring at a 30-goal, 30-assist pace would be pretty cool.
Do we know when he's coming back?
No, I don't.
Okay. he came back after a long injury, played for like 9 minutes, and then he's gone again. That's not a good look.
He's rehabbing that high ankle sprain.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, I think with the Olympic break, he'll be back.
Let's hope so.
So yeah, there we have it. Look at that redraft, mock draft. That was super fun. Maybe we can all point to like one of the biggest surprises or changes from now in the season, and maybe expectations into next season from the start of the season. I'll take the low-hanging fruit here and talk again about Macklin Celebrini, because he is like turning it up, and he's not regressing as some people may have thought. He's on a 121 point pace, and all signs point to that continuing. Although if he finishes with 105 points, like if that happens, if his shooting percentage goes down a bit, if his teammates' shooting percentage goes down a bit, I think next year his ADP would be 8.7. You heard it here first. But if he does finish at 120 points, I think you're going to see 5.7 as his ADP. That's what I think about Macklin Celebrini. Evan, do you disagree?
I knew you were going to throw it to me. I love Celebrini. You know that I'm a Celebrini supporter. I don't really disagree with the take. Here's the real question I want each and every one of you to answer. We did this already, this exercise. Nate, who do you take next year? Macklin Celebrini or Jack Eichel?
Celebrini.
Brian?
Celebrini.
And Ryan?
Yeah, agreed.
All right. I think that's crazy because even like Jack Eichel with what he's doing, like, and he's stayed healthy this season, like, it's just crazy how big like it can change so quickly. But I like that. Celebrini's definitely the biggest change, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else got a big surprise here?
I got to address the not really the elephant in the room, but someone we've talked about extensively is Philip Forsberg. Like, you can't even find him in the first couple of rounds here. But he's in a 4-7 is where he went, and most teams were picking him at the turn of the first round, early second round. And yeah, I think it's safe to say it's been a super disappointing year for Philip Forsberg. We had him on the hockey stand or in hockey court. We talked about how he's just not as involved in the offense. Everyone else is scoring. Luke Evangelista's having a great year, and Stamkos having a great year. Ryan O'Reilly's having a great year, and Forsberg's not. So it's really upsetting to see. And I think that next year you're definitely going to see Forsberg drop. I don't think we're going to see Forsberg in the mid to late fourth round next year, but I can definitely see him late third or mid to late third. I just think people will probably bank on a little bit of a bounce back for Forsberg because of what he has done for you previously. But that also depends on what Nashville does at the deadline.
Yeah. To me, like, most of his drop has come on the power play, and he's got 16 power play points in 57 games. That's roughly a 22 power play point pace, whereas season prior he had 26, season prior he had 32. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see the rest of the season. I think it's possible that fourth round returns value for Forsberg if he can go point per game pace because of his shots and hits. Like, that's what you really bank on. Like, when I was drafting him in the second round, you're like, well, he shoots a ton and hits a ton, and if he gets 82 points while he's doing that, that makes him a top 18 guy, like top 15 guy even. So it'll be interesting to see. Nate, I'm curious, do you have any wisdom on Forsberg and Nashville the rest of the season?
I mean, the rest of the season, I think it makes sense. I do think Forsberg has a better year. I think he has been playing better recently, and he could significantly outperform this 4-7 spot that he's drafted at here. Yeah, he's a compiler of all categories, and that gives him some base floors. So whenever the points do start to come, then he really starts to take off. I will probably be drafting him in the third round next year. I honestly don't expect that to be a consensus opinion unless he has a wild finish at the end here. Otherwise, I think he will start to fade into the fourth and even fifth rounds in more casual leagues. For my pick here, I am going to take another opportunity to talk about Cutter Gauthier, who, Ryan, you took at the 5-1 here. I think with a really good finish to the year, we could even see him go higher. I don't think we have seen the ceiling for Cutter Gauthier. His minutes have been held down a little bit here this season still. I think that in the next, I'm going to say in the next two seasons, next year, 2026-27 or 27-28, Cutter Gauthier will go for 45 goals and 90 points. You heard it here first.
Yeah, with that shot volume, like his shot attempts are insane. Like, I mean, it's just, again, it's every fantasy hockey like manager wants him like in the best scenario, like ton of minutes. I want him with Leo Carlson. I want them just going, creating all the scoring chances. Joel Quenneville's done a really nice job this year. It's a really good take. I think for mine, last one, I'm going to go off the board. We talked about it last time, but Victor Hedman. Look at the drop in terms of where he's drafted now. And obviously people look at Darren Radish where he's drafted here in this next season. You know, where does he go? This injury kind of riddled season for him, Darren Radish erupting and taking over. You know, if Darren Radish stays with the Lightning, does he remain top power play next year? Does Victor Hedman now become like kind of like a John Carlson-esque type defenseman where he doesn't get power play time, but still can maybe get some even strength points, but you can find value in drafting him in the later rounds? That's kind of where I'm at with him. But I also think it's one of those things where, for me, I don't touch Darren Radish next year. This is kind of like not the same, but similar to the Thomas Harley, Miro Heiskanen situation. I think that Victor Hedman's going to give you better value next year in terms of where you can get him for his point production if he stays healthy than Darren Radish will if you draft him, let's say, like the 3rd or 4th round, expecting him to get 80 points and 30 power play points again.
Yeah, I mean, Darren Radish is a UFA, so we'll see what that means. Like maybe a team just overpays and gives him a ton of money, and then maybe he's their top power play guy, top offensive defenseman, and yeah, maybe this is a super late breakout, and that's what we see from Darren Radish. In terms of rest of the season, like I think this ADP is correct for Radish and Hedman. Radish in the 3rd round. What was he? The 8th defenseman off the board. Like some could argue that he's a top 5 defender even the rest of the season. I really don't think Hedman is going to. I really don't think Hedman's going to get a lick on the top power play this season, the rest of the way. So, yeah, that's an interesting swap for sure with Victor Hedman down in the 10th round.
Yeah, rest of season, I totally agree. He's proven it. He's doing it right now, and I don't think it stops this season for sure. I think the Sharks will sign him. Get him on the Sharks. Get rid of John Klingberg. Get rid of the Klingon. Any final thoughts, comments, gentlemen?
Well, we missed a lot of comments, but I don't know if we have time to go through these comments.
We got a nice 2-hour long pod for everybody. It's been a little dry with the Olympics. We got more stuff coming up. That you probably have stuff in the works as well.
Yeah, I've been thinking about a few different things. We've had some suggestions, so I have a bunch of ideas. We'll see how many of them I can get through over the Olympic break here, but definitely more to come.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for this episode. Hopefully it brought you some value and helped you get just a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. Many thanks to Matt Creamer for supplying the music for the podcast. Appreciate you being here with us, and enjoy the Olympics until we get back.